What have I been working on? What am I doing? I am. So, what do I want to talk about? I'm a bit conflicted this morning. I'm experiencing a conflict of space and what I'm doing with my day, with my time. I'm having a conflict about work, y'all. Um, to put it simply, because that's what the conflict is involving. And now this is something about me. I know for a fact that I am built to be an entrepreneur. I know that my DNA is working for myself and not working for other people. And I can feel it. I can feel it within my soul. I can feel that. And I know they say entrepreneurship is not for everybody, yada, yada, yada. But for me, in my soul, like I always feel and know that I'm not supposed to be working for anybody. It just really fucks with my psyche and sometimes my emotional framework. And I also feel like it's just generally distracting, which I think that I think that the structure of work and the workforce in itself has something to do with why working for somebody else in a traditional sense, like working for a business in a traditional 8-hour rotation, that's always going to actually feel foreign to us because it is. Nobody came out the womb expecting to be at anybody's job for more than um, half their daytime hours. Yet, here we are within the world. So, one of those work is one of those things that we learned. And I'm just thinking about my mom and her journey, her work, professional life journey. One thing that I always took to heart was the way that the work that she did, actually broke down her body, um, and broke it down to such a point to where she couldn't physically work anywhere else after she had retired, was forced to retire early from this job. The last job my mom had was being a housekeeper on Maxwell Air Force Base here in Montgomery. And that's what she did. Extremely overqualified. Extremely overqualified. My mama had no business being there, child. Um, if we're looking at like qualifications on paper and we were looking at mental ability and all of that, not saying housekeepers aren't smart, but just saying there's a lot more that she could have been doing. So that's that. But I do overall just so yeah, that's it. But she worked this job and she worked this extremely physical job for quite a long time. And at the end of it, it broke her body down. Her body was really broken down from this. And I know that I've always had that on me to, that's not going to be me. I'm not going to ever let a job physically break me down. Seeing my mom go through her work journey is also when I kind of said, you know, that whole thing that you get early, it's like find a job, work the job for 20 years, retire. I realized that was all bullshit. You know, why would I give my, it's like the how they tie that into the quote unquote American dream is also bullshit. But you don't, nobody can tell me that giving your entire life to anybody's entity um is a good idea, because I refuse to agree with that. Like, I don't think that's a good idea. But yeah, those so yeah, somebody's calling me, sorry. So yeah, I didn't want that. At just looking at her, I really was like, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. Excuse me. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, so looking at my mom, I was like, I'm not doing this, I don't think that like this shit is not for me. Um, that dream, quote unquote, that dream of working for 20 years for somebody and retiring out, that dream became an illusion. It became a lie. Um, and I no longer saw it as a goal. I no longer saw it as something to shoot for. I saw it as something to run away from, to just run for the hills. Um, because to me, that shit was for the bird. So psychologically, since then, I've had this, since seeing how my mom had to end that part of her employment career, you know, I've been on my own journey of breaking through the program of working for somebody. And I think the part of the program for me that's the breakthrough part, because my I've had my own entrepreneurial journeys. I have dabbled, what I would call dabbled. I know that I've gone full fledged with, I've heavily invested, but I haven't reached a point yet, but it's coming. It's here, right? But in the past, there has been a resistance to throw all of myself into it. I think the psychological part is is getting away from the program of the system with the 9 to 5 jobs and with the workforce, like getting away from the programming of the workforce. Because psychologically, when you go to work, you are honed in on what that job needs. You are focused on what that job needs. You are willing to provide um, what you need to provide for yourself, what you need to you are willing to provide what's needed to be provided to make that job a success for that, for that company. We get hyper focused, super focused with somebody else's job. But when it comes to our own pursuits, the resistance that I am breaking through is just being a having that same energy for myself, right? Having that same energy for myself and allowing it to be a normalcy for me, allowing it to be something that I can lock into, just like I lock into when I go hit the clock, right? So, and let me tell you, speaking about hitting the clock, so I was thinking about I recently started this new position, and I did approach this differently. Of course, it is about, getting the check, having some additional cash flow, right? But I also wanted to go into something that was going to be fun for me, that was different. Definitely a little outside of my normal, but within the realm of like things that I wanted to experience. So I'm able to actually work in this event space, which is really cool. And the space that I'm able to work in is very uh dynamic and very different and very unique for the city that I'm in, and the cultural space that I'm in too. So it has been it's been very interesting to be at this place in this particular job. And what I've realized is that I've also been getting inclinations of other possibilities while I've been working there. So I've been working these events, and I've been seeing and noticing other possibilities, bigger possibilities of what I possibly could be doing when it comes to using the gifts that I have in a workforce capacity in the world. So, for example, I've been able to we have so I'm working events, right? And I've noticed a lot of events that have come through um with these huge groups, sometimes corporate, sometimes not necessarily, well, yeah, sometimes corporate, um these large groups, international groups, local groups, they are all these different types of groups, right? Um, so what I've noticed is, all right, I am rolling. I've noticed a lot of these groups, something very special about a lot of these groups. A lot of these groups have their own like spiritual leader, anchors, liaisons, facilitators that literally move around with the group. Some groups have have these holistic programs and sections and um, things that they naturally incorporate into what they're doing for their sessions. I have walked in on groups doing tarot. I have walked in on groups candle, doing candles ceremonies. I have walked in on groups that were doing sound bowls, that are doing like spiritual acoustics to bring in a different dynamic. We recently had a group that had a performer, and um she was a very unique performer. She was a spiritual vocalist. She only like sung. I don't I really don't know, but she was doing this like this opera type. To me, she was singing in frequencies. Okay, no words, simply hymns, and that was pretty cool. So I feel like what God is almost unlocking, not almost, I feel like what God is trying to unlock in me is the new found possibilities, because I like to see stuff as well. Like I am a faithful, but I love a visualization. And when I am able to just come face to face with a visualization, with a like a tangible thing of what I'm seeing, it really can be a huge motivator for me. It can be a huge point of inspiration and all of the things. So yeah, I feel like that has been, you know how we always end up in particular places for, particular reasons, sometimes singular, sometimes multiple. I definitely know that I'm not going to be at this job for the next 6 months. Um, I'm not going to be there after the next 6 months. However, I know that I'm going to take a lot of gems from this job. I have so many gems that I've been able to like collect from this job that are going to go with me into the next journey, into the next space. And I am going to be um, all the better for it. All the better for it. And it's one of those things to where it's not about what you're doing. I feel like for me, it's not about what I'm doing. It's definitely about where I'm at. It's not about what I'm doing. It is about where I'm at and what is in that space for me to receive. Okay? Let's continue to receive. And talking this out so good with you all, I think if I could share anything, I definitely feel like if I could share anything, it's that nobody came here to, I just don't feel like God said, I will birth you to work a 9 to 5 and die. No, I just don't feel like, I just don't feel like that. I don't feel like that was ever a word that was, I don't feel like that was ever a word that was said. And when we think about what we view as work, excuse me, what the world tells us is work is not what God is really deemed as the works, the great works, the good works, the works. Um, that ain't it. Their work is not necessarily our work, you know? So, yeah, I think that's all I have. I am, and as I'm working through my own feelings about it, I think it's important too, because we don't, when you feel like, if you feel like you stuck in something, it's going to, that has a certain type of energy that puts out a certain thing. And I don't want to be the one that's telling the universe that I can't see a way out. That I want to allow myself to feel stuck and stagnated, that I feel like there is no possibility outside the current possibility. Because I don't want to block anything that's coming down the path that God has prepared for me. So, that takes faith. And we wouldn't tell anybody to go quit a job and, da 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 da. By all means, make sure you're taking care of your people how you need to take care of your people. But at the same time, no, they say you can't take money with you. You can't take a damn job with you either. On your last day, what would you rather be doing? And that's kind of how it's kind of how I think about it. What would I rather be doing? And I want to, pursue a life where I'm thriving in doing that. Okay. I say amen. Talk to y'all later, friends. Have a great, great Thursday.